This reading is adapted from Let's UU the Vote, written by UU President Susan Frederick Gray, and I will be reading it. Beyond Unitarian Universalist circles, one thing I hear consistently is that we show up. And right now, we need people who show up. These are difficult and dangerous times. In times of change and uncertainty, there's a tendency for people to withdraw and grow fearful. This is why the rhetoric of hate, scarcity, and isolation grows in this country. In such times, we need bold spiritual imagination and audacious leaders and communities to show a new way forward. We must not be on the sidelines. Core Unitarian Universalist values of interdependence, democracy, human worth and dignity, the richness of pluralism and diversity, and the right to self-determination are online. We must not be on the sidelines. Core Unitarian Universalist values of whatever the outcomes of the 2020 election, the spiritual, relational, and skill-building work we do will make us better equipped to bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice. I challenge us not only to be the people who show up, but also to be the people who get others to show up. This will require that we go beyond the usual voter registration campaigns and build relationships with and follow the leadership of communities that are directly impacted. Voter mobilization is not just political. For Unitarian Universalists, this is a faithful, moral action because democracy and the right for all to have a voice and a vote are at the very heart of our 7 principles. This work is about the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It is about restoring our relationship with the planet. It's about our commitment to justice and equity for all people. We are called to courageously embody the deepest values of our faith with our hearts, bodies, and spirits, while building toward an abundant future in which we are all free and flourishing. What happens in November 2020 matters, and what we do today will shape what happens on Election Day. Our voices, our values, our willingness to show up our willingness to show up matter right now. No matter who you are and what your skills and passions are, everyone has a role to play. We are small, but we are mighty. And that mighty love and spirit-centered courage is exactly what is needed today. That special music was arranged and performed by our special guest artist, Garrett Artman, and the song is We Shall Overcome with Amazing Grace. And now Jean Abramson is here for her reflections on the history of voting rights in the U.S.
A brief history of voting rights in America. Voting is one of America's most prized democratic liberties and is the foundation of a representative democracy. Ensuring that people have a voice in their government provides a necessary safeguard against authoritarianism and protects our freedom. While voting is fundamental in a democracy, voting rights in the United States have had a long, contentious history in which the right to vote was denied for many populations. Women, African Americans, Native Americans, and Asian Americans were systematically denied the right to vote for centuries. The founding fathers of the United States actually endorsed severe limits on voting. Our Constitution does not specify who can vote. Instead, it was left to the states to decide who was qualified to vote in elections, and for decades, state legislators restricted voting to property-owning white men. Activists and civil rights groups have continued to fight discriminatory voting laws. Major landmarks include the 15th Amendment, barring the federal or state governments from denying the right to vote to citizens based on race, the 19th Amendment, granting suffrage to women, the 26th Amendment, lowering the voting age from 21 to 18, and the Indian Citizenship and McCarran-Walter Acts granting Native and Asian Americans the right to vote. In spite of these great strides in expanding voting rights, many states, particularly in the South, subsequently suppressed the vote among people of color, immigrants, and low-income populations through intimidation and other measures such as poll taxes, literacy tests, English language and ID requirements, and by closing many polling locations accessible to minorities. The struggle for equal voting rights came to a head in March 1965 when activists began organizing protest marches for their rights. The first march from Selma, Alabama to the state capital of Montgomery was led by a young freedom fighter named John Lewis across Selma's Edmund Pettus Bridge. The event became known as Bloody Sunday after marchers were attacked by Alabama state troopers. Lewis suffered a fractured skull, but survived to become a long-term congressman and the soul of the voting rights movement. 8 days after Bloody Sunday, President Lyndon Johnson introduced the Voting Rights Act, which became law on August 6, 1965. It banned poll taxes and literacy tests, and Section 5 provided for federal approval of proposed changes to voting laws or procedures by jurisdictions deemed to have practiced racial discrimination. It became known as one of the most consequential laws ever passed by Congress. But in 2013, the Supreme Court gutted the heart of the act by invalidating Section 5, freeing states mostly in the South to change their election laws. Across many states, restrictions on voting rights continue to target low-income and people of color with the goal of suppressing their vote. Former President Barack Obama, in his eulogy at John Lewis's funeral, said, "Democracy isn't automatic. It has to be nurtured. It has to be tended to. We have to work at it. It's hard." End of quote. We must ensure that every citizen has safe, equal, and unobstructed access to voting. We can protect and expand the right to vote by reinstating the key provisions of the Voting Rights Act, enacting automatic voter and same-day registration, early registration for 17-year-olds, no excuse absentee and early voting, and establish a federal authority to monitor the registration and participation of minority and low-income voters. John Lewis said, "Freedom is not a state, it is an act. It is not some enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is a continuous action we all must take." He also said, "Your vote is precious, almost sacred. It is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have to create a more perfect union. Blessed be."
And now Tracy Haskell will read her reflection, Courageous Conversations to Change the World, and share some inspiration around the UU the Vote campaign.
These are difficult and dangerous times. Waves of violence are washing across our country, with the lives of Black, Indigenous, and people of color particularly vulnerable and at risk. Anyone who does not identify as white and heterosexual is at risk of assault, whether it be verbal or physical. The COVID virus continues to spread, aided by people who are willing to risk their own and others' lives as they ignore all safety recommendations. Species of animals and plants are rapidly disappearing. The country's natural resources are on the bidding block, and there is a line waiting to pillage them. Children who are at risk are rapidly slipping away as schools do not open. Relationships are being torn apart by vicious politics, and children continue to live in cages, separated from their families. Some days this list seems to have no end. And yet, as Unitarian Universalists, we hold on to hope, we hold on to love, and we continue the work whose foundation is supported by our 7 principles. This morning, we come together to share and learn from one another and to consider how we might carry the democratic light of our 5th principle out into the world, illuminating a path of conscience and justice for all. The Unitarian Universalist Association's UU the Vote initiative can be our guide. I have been excited by the UU the Vote initiative since I first learned of it. Expanding the democratic vision of our country is exciting. Being engaged in work that may help reduce or eliminate all or some of the challenges facing our country is exciting. Building coalitions is exciting. Working alongside others who share this path is exciting. But the real magic, the thing that really excites me, is that UU the Vote is a nonpartisan initiative. It is inclusive of all. Because I have been immersed in UU the Vote activity for months now, I sometimes forget that others have not been so involved, or even that some folks may not be aware of the initiative. At its core, UU the Vote is a call for we progressive people of faith to affect the outcome of the 2020 elections by engaging in values-based conversations. These are conversations that are rooted in our theology and our principles. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe in the worth and dignity of each and every person. We believe in diversity. We believe in self-determination and agency. We believe in justice and equity. And we believe we are all part of an interdependent web of life. Together, we can build a movement built upon these values. Together, we can defeat hate. So where to begin this work? While there are many specific actions we may take, such as helping to register voters or participating in a phone bank, more broadly, UU the Vote encourages us to take advantage of our position as Unitarian Universalists by engaging in courageous conversations. We can bring our hearts and minds to dialogue with our neighbors, with people in our social circles, and with people in our communities. Conversations with people we know can be one of the most effective means of relaying important information, and for that information to have a great impact. These conversations leave participants with food for thought, with things to mull over long after the dialogue ends. The seeds we plant during these dialogues may grow into a more compassionate worldview and perhaps an increase in civic engagement. Imagine the circles of engagement spreading out from these conversations. We begin our courageous conversations by deciding what we would like to talk about. A specific issue or need, or do we desire a broader discussion? We think about what values, beliefs, and assumptions may be at play and how we might better understand another's perspective. How can we connect in a meaningful and authentic way? How do we develop our own beliefs, and what helps us change our perspective? And then we sit down and begin talking with one another, not at, but with. We sit and we learn about the person we are speaking with and what their concerns are, what their values are, and what they hold dear. We take time to get to know one another. We learn to engage rather than disengage when we agree or when we disagree. Courageous conversations are conversations grounded in our faith, and in fact, they are faith work. In order to be fully present with one another during these conversations, we also must be fully grounded and well-nourished in our faith. The Reverend Ashley Horgan, the UUA Organizing Strategy Director, describes this faith work so eloquently, and I quote her now. We say it again and again. Even when the proof lies somewhere beyond the horizon, beyond our reach, beyond imagination. This is our faith. Another world is possible. Not somewhere else, another world, another lifetime, but here and for now, for us and for all. Another world is possible. There is no single path toward that world, no one strategy or approach that will restore balance, heal brokenness, sow wholeness, free creation. There are many routes toward liberation, toward freedom, but the abundance of options does not absolve us of the responsibility of acting. Another world is possible. The call, the duty of each moment in history is to discern that another world is possible. Who are we, and what can we bring with humility, integrity, faith? What is the context, and how can we address it with agility, resilience, skill? What is the vision, and how can we realize it with accountability, relationship, joy? Another world is possible. In this time of despair, of fear, of collapse, this time that is both like every other era and like no other time in history, it is audacious to declare our faith and to commit our work to a world that is more free, more just, more whole. But we are an audacious people, in good company with many kin, and we are ready to show up and work hard and stay humble and make friends and hold the vision, starting here, now, today, with us and persevering, however long it takes, until that other world is not only possible, but when another world is here, unquote. I encourage you all to be the world changers that our faith calls us to become. Together we can vote love, defeat hate. Together we can UU the vote. And now the postscript to my reflection is that I wanted to mention, especially for those folks who may not be aware, that I am your UUSB UU the Vote liaison with MUSON, our statewide social justice action net organization. So I also want to provide some specific suggestions on how you might become more involved in helping to UU the vote. And I will copy these and put them in the chat after I finish. My first suggestion is that you sign up and receive alerts from the following folks: the National UU the Vote website, MUSON, the League of Women Voters, and the Poor People's Campaign. Another alternative is to send me a message that you would like to receive voting action alerts. My goal as our UUSB UU the Vote liaison with MUSON is to send out one action alert each week leading up to the November elections. I will include my email address for you. For folks who use Facebook or who would be willing to use Facebook, all of the above groups have very active Facebook pages. I urge you to consider using Facebook just for this purpose, as it is a great way to stay informed about events that are happening and sometimes may not be posted elsewhere. Specifically, show up. This means recognizing that you have the ability to change the world, literally, really. Learn as much as you can, stay informed, and take empowered action. Think about connecting with your local groups, not just politically oriented groups, but any that you may be connected with, and start some courageous conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy, for those very inspiring words. I want to now welcome you to our final hymn. Please enjoy. It's called "We Shall Be Known" by the How We Thrive virtual choir.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we cry. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in
Now it's time to extinguish the chalice, and we ask Tracy to read the words, please. You're muted, Tracy.
Sorry. The flame of our chalice reminds us of our faith and our mission. As we extinguish our chalice today, carry its flame of hope with you as you go forth and change the world.
Please let us now all sing our beautiful benediction. We'd like to thank everyone that participated in the worship team this week. We have Jean Adamson with her reflection, Tracy Haskell with her chalice readings and the reflection, myself as worship associate and reading, Lori Cartier, the Zoom host and technical support, for music, Molly Webster, the music director, as well as Garrett Artman and Sasha Zabardeva. And now, Lori, today's tech coordinator, will break us into groups where we can continue to talk for about 10 minutes and we can continue conversations and develop connections.